Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome back to 365 Days of Love and Miracles with A Course in Miracles. My name is Arlene Geres, and I am so glad that you are here. Please remember to listen right until the very end because we have a special treat for you. And if you enjoyed today's video, please click like and subscribe down below because this helps others to find us on YouTube. Today's lesson is lesson number 116. This is our 6th lesson in Review 3. In today's review, we are reviewing lesson 101, God's Will for Me is Perfect Happiness, and lesson 102, I Share God's Will for Happiness for Me. Let's read lesson 101. God's will for me is perfect happiness. God's will is perfect happiness for me, and I can suffer but from the belief there is another will apart from His. Let's go back and review lesson 101. In lesson 100, we read that your joy must be complete to let God's plan be understood to those to whom He sends you. They will see their function in your shining face and hear God calling to them in your happy laugh. When we live in happiness, we are calling to others. People are very attracted to joy and happiness. When we are genuinely in that place of love and light and joy and laughter, people cannot help but be attracted to us. Everyone wants some of that. Lesson 101 says, this is a key idea in understanding what salvation is. Salvation meaning that we are saved from the ego. We are saved from the despair and the heaviness, the darkness of the ego. We accept that every single one of us are light workers. Further down in lesson 101 it says, God's will is perfect happiness because there is no sin and suffering is causeless. Traditional religion often teaches that we have to have a life of suffering because we were born sinful. A Course in Miracles tells us the exact opposite is true. We were born as light workers. We were born to be joyful. We're born to share God's love and light with every single person that we encounter. Reading a little bit more in lesson 101. Joy is just and pain is but the sign you have misunderstood yourself. It's as simple as that. If you're living in pain of any kind, whether it be emotional or physical, we have misunderstood ourselves. God's will is perfect happiness for me, and I can but suffer from the belief there is another will apart from His. There is no will except for God's. God's only will is perfect happiness for you and for me and for all of creation. I just wish everyone could grab hold of this. Can you just imagine what it would be like to walk on an earth where everyone accepted that joy is their inheritance? We all have it deep inside of us. We just have to wash the mud off. Let's take a closer look at review lesson 102. I share God's will for happiness for me. I share my Father's will for me, His child. What He has given me is all I want. What He has given me is all there is. What He has given me is all there is. That's all. That's it, folks. Let's take a peek back at lesson 102. Today we try to loose its weakened hold still further, the hold of the ego, and to realize that pain is purposeless, without a cause, and with no power to accomplish anything. It cannot purchase anything at all. Be you free today to join the happy will of God. Pain does not serve us well. It has absolutely no purpose, no reason. Of course, just like when there's a rattle in your car, you feel a bump on the road, you want to head straight to the mechanic and get that fixed. If we feel a physical pain, we want to go to the doctor. We want to get it fixed. But it does us no good to wallow in that pain, feeling sorry for ourselves, being sure to share it with every single person who will listen. And the same thing is true of emotional pain. It does no good to just lay around feeling depressed, being anxious. We can shift over to the world of joy and love and happiness anytime we choose. Here we are told to be sure to devote our practice periods to exercises planned to help us reach the happiness that God has placed in us. Here is our home, and here our safety is. Here is our peace, and here there is no fear. We get there through being committed to our practice periods. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Yesterday we talked about paragraph 5, which explained the structure for our practice periods. To do lesson 101 in the morning and on the hour, to do lesson 102 in the evening and on the half hour. And then it says, you need not give more than a moment to each one. So this is not a big onerous task. The challenge is simply remembering to do them on the hour and the half hour. The best way that works for me is just to put that little reminder into my phone, and then I don't forget. To just pause for a minute, think about the idea for today, and then move on. Paragraph 6 continues on to say, if you are shaken, think of it again. These practice periods are planned to help you form the habit of applying what you learn each day to everything you do. Do not repeat the thought and lay it down. Its usefulness is limitless to you, and it is meant to serve you in all ways, all times and places, and whenever you need help of any kind. Try then to take it with you in the business of the day and make it holy, worthy of God's child, acceptable to God and to yourself. Let's talk about this. When we come up against some kind of difficulty, maybe an old memory, something that upsets us, then we want to return to the idea, not just on the hour and the half hour, but every single time that we come up against some sort of obstacle. The reason that we are asked to do the practice period so often is to get us into the habit. It takes a lot of repetition to establish a habit. We want this new way of thinking to become our default. Our ego is our default. That's where we naturally go. But when we consistently apply the practices in A Course in Miracles, that becomes our new default. Do not repeat the thought and lay it down. Its usefulness is limitless to you. These are incredible tools that truly do work miracles in our lives. Let's take these practice periods seriously. I share my Father's will for me, His child. What He has given me is all I want. All I want is happiness. All I want is God's happiness, not the happiness of the world that is transitory, that maybe lasts for a second or a minute or at the most a day, and then it passes away. God's happiness is eternal. It doesn't matter what the circumstances of the world are. I always have access to God's happiness. What He has given me is all there is. The things of the world are not real. Only God's will is real. Thanks so much for listening right until the end, my friends. If you enjoyed today's video, please share the love. Tell others about these videos. Encourage them to start at lesson 1 and only do 1 lesson a day. Are you ready for our special treat?
Here we are, upstairs in the Artesania Mercado in Tlaquepaque. So many beautiful things to choose from. And there's Susan looking away. Hi Susan. Yeah, we're having a wonderful time. Have a blessed day, my friends. I love you.
God's will for me is perfect happiness. God's will for you is perfect happiness. I share God's will for happiness for me. I share God's will for happiness for you too. Have a gloriously happy day, my friends. I love you.